All right, now to begin our discussion on soot and the illegal refineries, let's now bring you our background report as put together by Kunle Adeye.
A black cloud is hovering over some parts of Rivers State. On the ground, the streets, residents, schools, hospitals and markets, as well as other public places are covered with black particles. Hardly will anyone touch anything without taking a stain. Clean inside your nose and ears with white material, and what you will see is a black stain. It is not just a case of air pollution, but also that of water contamination with attending health and environmental hazards. This is what the people of Rivers State are currently dealing with. The air pollution crisis is blamed on black soot, a byproduct of incomplete combustion of carbon products resulting from increased activities of artisan refining and illegal oil bunkering in the state. The challenge became prevalent in Rivers State in 2016 after residents and activists raised alarm and clamored for government intervention to avoid health hazards. In February 2017, the Rivers State Ministry of Environment declared the soot as emergency situation, and in the same month, the state governor established a committee to probe the cause of the soot and suggest ways forward. The 2018 Stop the Soot protests in Port Harcourt brought out the frustration of the citizens who wanted pragmatic steps from government to address the disaster. This prompted the state government in 2019 to research into the matter, and a report based on analysis of Rivers State hospitals from 2014 to 2016 found out that over 20,000 people who received care from soot-related conditions, black soot was found responsible for adverse respiratory, skin, and reproductive disorders. It is also reported that death rate from black soot-related health issues in Rivers State has risen to 25,000. From December 2021 to date, Rivers State has continued to witness scourge of black soot, with the state governor directing local government chairmen to put an end to illegal oil refining and bunkering in their domain. But inasmuch as the state government and experts attribute the air pollution on illegal processing of crude oil, some analysts feel the government is neglecting the impact the licensed oil producing companies are playing. What can be done to end this pollution? Is the government taking the right step to stop it? And what alternatives can be brought forward to entice the local artisans to leave the trade and to take more meaningful ventures? These and other related issues will be engaging guests on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph Olsen, for that backgrounder. We have guests with us in the studios to begin this conversation. First, let's welcome Mohammed Lawal Haruna. He's the Acting Deputy Commandant General in charge of operations at the Civil Defense at the national headquarters here in Abuja. Acting Deputy Commandant General, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios is Professor Onye Nwagbara. He's a professor of environmental toxicology and chemistry. He's at the Nile University, also here in Abuja. Professor Nwagbara, a pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Well, let's begin the conversation with the Professor of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry. You listened to the background report by our correspondent, and we had focused on the soot pollution sometime in the past, but for those who are far away in other locations, away from the epicenter, if you like, of the soot pollution, what is it that we're talking about in terms of soot pollution? How toxic is this to the environment and to the human person?
Thank you very much. The situation in Rivers State is a very dire situation. I was born and raised in Port Harcourt, so I know the story firsthand. I was there first week of December on an assignment. The situation is so bad that the fume and the smoke coming from the refineries, illegal refineries, let me put it that way, you can barely breathe. If you take off your clothes, take off your shoes, step your foot on the floor, you will see dark powder on top of your foot. If you are wearing white, the whole thing is all over all over your body. If you blow your nose, you will see thick mucus full of black stuff. That's how bad it is. If you are driving, you can barely see 10 meters in front of you. Now, the health impact associated with this is that it can lead to cancer, respiratory problems, and those that are asthmatic, they are most impacted by the health effect of this air pollution. And the situation has gotten to a point that even people in Abia State, in Aba, now are experiencing it. So what do? It leads to heart attack, high blood pressure, cancer. The health impact is enormous. Talking about environmental degradation is enormous. Now, you look at the activities of this illegal refinery, the discharge of the waste. Remember, crude oil has about 29 components, and they're just extracting just 2, PMS and diesel. So other components are just wasted. So the environmental impact is unbelievable. So what do? How do we mitigate this situation?
Yeah, before we get into the area of mitigation, Kieran, yes.
As a matter of fact, it's unfortunate, really, that since 2016, when this started in Port Harcourt, the River State and its environs, that no effort was made at that time until now that it's gotten to a point where, of course, what you have explained is what is the situation at the moment. But before we continue the conversation, let's introduce our next guests. We have Senator Ita Enang, SSA, to the President on Niger Data Affairs. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. We also have joining us via Zoom, Dr. Omosivi Maduka, Senior Lecturer, Department of Public Health, University of Port Harcourt. Good morning, madam, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Apart from looking at the health hazards associated with this suit in Port Harcourt, let's bring in Senator Ita Enang. This started since 2016, right? And it's only now that efforts are being made to see how to mitigate it. Already it is there. Your own view, what has been the problem, really? What has it been so difficult, for government of River State and other concerned persons, to take immediate action in 2016 when it started, until now that it has gotten to almost a point of no return?
Well, thank you very much. And it has not been, it is not that the government has not taken action. It is that persons and people did not take the effect of it serious, because the outcome and the dangers were not so evident as at that time. But I'm aware, in the course of our engagement with the communities, in course of engagement with the practitioners, in course of engagement with the even the beneficiaries and even the sponsors, we discovered that in 2016, the government of Rivers State had commissioned a study as to the health impact of the suit and the activities of the illegal refiners. And it was immediately after or in course of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari's launch of the high prep, that is Ogoni cleanup. And so in course of the, looking at the Ogoni cleanup report and looking at the report of the consultant to the River State government who investigated the health impact, they discovered that the health impact from 2013, 2014, 2015, and up to 2016, it was gradually going higher and more dangerous, and that more people were having respiratory problems. There were more cases of defective birth. There were more cases of quote-unquote impotency, that is a birth defect, and even men and women were being affected. Their reproductive health was being challenged. And then action was taken and delayed, taken and delayed, taken and delayed. And in the course of it, it has gotten to this situation. So what we've done is, I'm sure we've appeared once or twice on this program, and I'm having almost a hard starting, because I have been advocating on this matter that the best way is to engage with these persons. The best way is to call them to the table. The best way is to adopt the, what I call domesticate the approach. Let me say that what the Rivers State government has done is at least showing state government responsibility. And latching onto what the last speaker has said, the situation is so bad that persons who can afford it now stay and work 2 days in a week or 3 days in Port Harcourt. Part of the congestion we're having in Akwa Ibom is that that is the state capital. Most people who are affected by this and who can afford it now spend a lot of weekends in Uyo and other areas which are deemed to be cleaner, because even if you sleep in your air-conditioned room, you are still affected by the soot. In an air-conditioned room, you touch the floor, no matter how air-conditioned and air-proof it is, you still find some dust, some element of this black carbon on the floor, which means that no matter what you do, you are affected. And finally, the oil producers, the oil companies are aware of this. So you don't find most of the workers of the oil companies, they value themselves, they value their lives more than the community. They value the oil more than the lives of the community. They do not stay within the community. They do not stay in River State. They do not stay in the capital of Delta. They don't stay in Warri. They don't stay in Bayelsa. They don't stay where these things are. They come in from Lagos and Abuja by helicopter, walk 2 days, and then they are off, because they know the health implications of this. So they have taken care of themselves, and it is for the government to decide, and it is for the government of River State, the government of all the affected states, to take action on this matter, because otherwise you are going to have a situation which is capable of being involuntary genocide or not genocide, but a situation where the community is being wiped out, only leaving the oil to be exploited.
Senator Itana, thanks a lot for your opening comments. Let's join Dr. Omosivie Maduka once again via Zoom. She's from the Department of Public Health at the University of Port Harcourt, where she's a senior lecturer. Listening to the first two guests, and from what we know, it's like this is an increasing rate of death by installment. We're just openly breathing soot and killing ourselves and not really caring about it. How dire is it from a public health perspective, and what data do you have, if any?
It's really, I think the best word to use is an epidemic in slow motion, because what we have is that over the years, between 2016 and currently, we have increasing rates of respiratory illnesses, cardiovascular illnesses, hypertension specifically. We have increasing rates of cancers, all the cancers you can think about. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And you see, the challenge with it from a public health perspective is that it isn't very easy to relate the soot and the particulate matter air pollution or air pollution in general with deaths. Because you are not in a situation where you say, okay, expose these people to it and see what will happen to them. Don't expose these people to it and see what will happen to them. We can't do those kind of research in public health. It's not ethical. But from observational studies, it's been very clear to us that between 2016 and date, and comparing before 2016, so 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and then from 2016 down to 2018. I mean, the report came out in 2019 by the Rivers State government and the committee that was set up by the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Environment to investigate this, that we're having spikes in respiratory illnesses, we're having spikes in cardiovascular illnesses, we were having spikes in cancers. Majorly these three aspects. And the thing about it is that because of the way it affects the human body and the effect it has, for example, there are three major ways this particulate matter soot gets into the body and anybody's system. It's either it is inhaled, which is the most likely way and the most dangerous way of getting into the body, with inhaled, or it is ingested, or it actually passes through the skin pores. These are the three major ways. And the thing about it is that God has developed in every human being defense systems, the hair in our nose, the filters in our lungs, and the ability for us to be able to cough these things out that are irritating us, even when we inhale them. And then, of course, the skin barrier. I mean, God has created all these things. But when it is more than what the defense systems can manage, you have an overwhelming of our defense systems. And then you start having the very small particulate matter, which is like they call them particulate matter 1.0. Tiny, very tiny particles that are invisible. These ones are very readily respired, get into the blood system through the interface between the lungs and the blood vessels, get into the blood system, go and cause tissue damage. That's how it happens. Go and cause tissue damage across the respiratory tract, the lungs, the alveoli. Those are the very small parts of the lungs that help us breathe and exchange air, and then, of course, release carbon dioxide. It attacks these places and causes destruction at the vascular level and at the tissue level in these parts of the body. Of course, when that happens, you find out that breathing difficulties increase. So what we have seen is that children who have an underlying respiratory illness, for example, we know quite a number of children are born with what turns out to be asthma, and even some adults have asthmatic reactions. They are worse affected because all of a sudden they're having problems breathing. I have colleagues in the pediatrics department of the two tertiary institutions in Rivers State who tell me on a consistent basis that the number of children that come for them to be nebulized as emergency treatment for asthmatic attacks is increasing by the day. And they find out that they will treat these children will come back in a short while. They will treat these children will come back in a short while. It's because this particulate matter, the soot pollution, is making their situation worse. I know people who have had to relocate from Rivers State because they had such bad respiratory illness, and it's only after they left the state and were able to breathe clean air that they had some relief. We see situations where the number of cases of breast, cervical, and prostate cancer is going up by the day. Our colleagues in oncology in Rivers State will tell you that it's actually a disaster. I mean, unfolding, and the truth of the matter is that if all of us together don't raise our voices to say something really does need to happen to stop the emission of this pollutants in our atmosphere, not only will we be destroying our environment, we will be on a crash collision with increased morbidity and increased mortality in Rivers State and in the rest of the Niger Delta, and it will definitely affect the entire country. So that's how bad it is from a public health perspective.
Well, thank you indeed. We just hope that you are well protected from the point where you are talking to us, because from your explanation, it does appear that no one is safe in that environment, considering the pervasive nature of these particles we're talking about. So, all right, let's return to Abuja. And here we have Mohammed Lawal Haruna, Acting Deputy Commandant, General Operation, NSCDC. There has been a fight against illegal refining in River State and its environment, and recently the governor of the state, of course, challenged or charged the council area chairman to ensure that there's no refining activity in their domain. And when it comes to such fight, your men are key in terms of locating the refiners and, of course, ensuring that they are arrested. Give us an idea of what is being in the fight against the illegal refining in River State.
Thank you very much. The issue of illegal refinery in River State is very worrisome. And I was fortunate to be the commandant of River State from 2017 to 2019. And illegal refinery in River State is one of the most difficult fights as far as civil defense and other security agencies are concerned. I do remember most of the illegal refineries, it's difficult, the terrain is also very difficult to get to those illegal refineries. They are in swampy areas, and most of these swampy areas, sometimes we even wonder how these people manage to set up these illegal refineries in those places. Some of the items, the drums, the tankers, how they moved in the tankers to those places. And one very worrisome thing is that illegal refineries in River State is a place when you, security agencies will move in to destroy these illegal refineries. Within the next 24 hours, they are back to work. So it's a very worrisome situation. And within a period of, I can say, within a month, we can destroy up to 200 to 300 illegal refineries. That individual agencies, Nigerian Army, Civil Defense, Navy. Then we have Operation Delta Save. That is the umbrella agencies of other security agencies, the form of a task force in those areas. So the fight is very, very difficult and enormous because you need sophisticated equipment to do all those fights. Again, one of the major problems we used to have in fighting this illegal refinery is the community itself. There is no way an illegal refinery will operate successfully in a particular community if we don't have those people fully involved. And it has been a very, very serious problem. Like some of the committee, the Honorable Senator was talking about and the lady that just spoken, I have been part of those committees since 2017 till I left Rivers. And we've done a lot of tremendous work to ensure that the activities of these illegal refineries are curbed. But unfortunately, it keeps increasing and you have a lot of new people coming in to set up illegal refineries, mostly in the very swampy areas that is the terrain is very difficult for security agencies to operate. And there you need some sophisticated equipment, like you need flat bottom boat to operate in the brown water. And then you need this one boogie to take off those illegal refineries. One other major problem is that even if you take off these illegal refineries, the products, we have the products of illegal refinery, no oil company is prepared to take these products into their system. Also, even tell you that even our own corporation, NNPC, they are not, most cases, we approach them to take these products of illegal refinery into the system to sanitize it.
Is it the refined oil?
The refined one. And even the crude oil, if you arrest crude oil, you hand it over to all these oil companies. They are not prepared to take them because they say it's out of their system. They don't know where it's coming from. So they are not prepared to take them. So where do you take this product to? We don't have refineries. And again, you are talking about environmental pollution. You can't destroy them. If you want to destroy them, it's affecting the environment. And those you think they should take it off from the environment, they are not prepared to take it. So it's a major problem. Government need to also find a solution to ensure that these products are taken off from the system, from the street, from the environment. So if not, it will continue to be that.
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not cutting you short, but there are insinuations, really, that some of your men and other members of security agencies are also part of the also involved in this illegal business.
Thank you very much. You know, when the executive governor of Rivers State came off with this allegation some few weeks ago, my commander general swiftly reacted. First of all, it's an allegation. What he did was to the few officers of anti-vandal department, the Vadal unit that the accusing figure were appointed at, he redeployed, he summoned all of them to national headquarters, then disbanded the anti-Vadal unit of River State Command. Again, he set up a committee headed by my very self to investigate the true situation in River State. I came in, I was able to meet stakeholders. I went to some communities, met some community leaders, met all the service commanders, those who were available when I was in Rivers. Then we tried all we could to meet, and then all the necessary people. And some of them gave us memoranda and everything. The issue is that we have been able to submit our report to National, and he's acting on those reports. Those who are alleged to be part of those who were fingered are being summoned and they are being investigated. The investigation is ongoing. By the time we will finish with the investigation, if they are part of that, definitely the arm of law will take its course, in due course. Then in other security agencies, yes, we are always in touch with them, and it's an allegation, and those allegations we are trying all our cool to ensure that we nip it in the bud.
All right. Thank you very much, Acting Deputy Controller General Commandant General rather of the Civil Defense. We'll come back to you to further elaborate on the security perspective to the operation of illegal refineries and soot pollution. From our Port Harcourt studios, we're being joined by another guest. He's Kentebe Biarido, Program Manager, Environmental Rights Action and Friends of the Earth, Nigeria, Head of the Port Harcourt office. Kentebe, we welcome you to this edition of the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, from a civil society point of view, let's have your take on what has been described as a genocide unfolding right before our eyes.
Okay, thank you. For the past about 6 or 7 years, people of River State have been living with the soot. Every morning you wake up, you meet soot in your environment, and our children, like the lady rightly said, breathing this particulate matter. However, as civil society groups, we've had series of campaigns. As civil society groups, we've had several meetings, but most importantly, what we have found out in the last few weeks since this fight by the governor started is very, very disappointing, to the fact that people who are saddled with the responsibility of dealing with these thieves, people who are saddled with the responsibility of reducing this menace in our society, are directly fingered in it. We commend the Rivers State governor for his efforts in trying to fight this, even though we know that it is coming a little bit late, but we commend his effort, and we say he should not stop here. Those who have been caught, those who have been fingered, should all be prosecuted, and justice must take its full course.
All right. As a civil society, person. Can we know more about those who are fingered? Because in a fight of this nature, those who are responsible for the fight, if they engage in the same atrocity, that means we will never win the war. So to what extent, has the have some security operatives been involved in this? Perhaps from your own investigation, what is the magnitude of their involvement? Because that is also part of efforts being made to see how we can stop this nefarious activity in that part of the country.
I'm glad the officer there said he was in Rivers State between 2017 and 2019, which means that he's very aware of the activities of this of the artisanal refiners in the state. However, during his tenure, I'm bold to say that during his tenure, I have had cause to meet his men and other paramilitary officers involved in this act. I have had cause to visit communities where I see these people partake in these particular activities. I've had cause to see where, if you go to communities, they will tell you this is a military pipeline. I mean, how come a military will have pipeline in communities? And these boys buy this crude. They don't just steal it, they buy the crude. Who sells the crude to them? Who sells the crude to them? They buy this crude before they refine. So it's a chain. It's a chain of people involved in this business. We have the military on one part who are directly involved. We have the community people and the chiefs who are also directly involved. We also have the people who buy these products for kerosene and also for diesel. Let me also point it very clear that most of the diesel being used in Rivers State are all coming from that particular axis. Most of the kerosene being used in the entire Niger Delta are coming from that particular axis. So our military, our civil defense people, I'm happy he's there in the studio. I listened to his submissions, which I think, is okay to an extent. But they can do better than what they have done. It's very shameful. It's very, very pathetic that his own men were fingered in it. It's very pathetic when you see videos flying all over the internet where men of the NSCDC are seen in that particular, refineries, aiding and abetting these people in the work. Then what was the purpose of them coming to River State? What was the purpose of them catching tankers and at the same time burning them up? What was the purpose of the entire fight against artisanal refiners when they are the ones? It has been seen, it has been proven that they are directly involved. It's very pathetic, very, very pathetic, and something must be done about it.
Kentebe, thanks for your comments. I'm sure you listened to the acting Deputy Commandant General. He did say that a committee was set up and the report has been submitted and it's been acted on. But he will have the opportunity of responding to some of the points that you have raised. I want to bring in again Senator Ita Enang. Senator Ita Enang, earlier you said that in your series of engagements, you had met with some of the, I believe, actors in the destructive value chain of illegal refineries and the resultant soot pollution, which is to say, therefore, that these persons are not spirits, as one jingle went many decades ago, that armed robbers were not spirits. So if these are persons with faces and names and perhaps locations, why does it appear difficult to get on top of them and put them out of commission?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say that these persons are not spirits, and the meetings were not held in the creeks. The meetings were held after a lot. We had about 6 months preparation before we held the meeting. And the meeting was not held in the creeks, like I said. It was held at Sheraton Hotel, where I brought all the people down. The practitioners, quote unquote, the beneficiaries, quote unquote, the security agencies, quote unquote, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the NNPC as it then was, as it was before the unbundling, the those who would provide the scientific element for them. The Petroleum Technology Development Fund was there. Almost all the agencies of government were there. And we came out at the end of it with some resolutions. And part of the resolutions was that it is not, and these people, when they came, one of the first meetings we had inside my office, when we were planning for the meeting, the GMD of NNPC himself was there. And these persons openly said at that venue at the Secretariat Phase 1 that they are granting amnesty to the government. I'm sorry that I have to come out saying this, that they are granting amnesty to the government, that they will not, that if you give them the crude, they will pay for it. Because the cost of taking the crude the way they are taking it is costlier than if they were buying it and paying the money to the government. And when I say the cost of taking the crude, I will not go deeper, but I will latch on the statement made by the civil society officer who just spoke before me, pointing to the issues and the cost of taking the crude. Now, that the cost of taking the crude is so much, and that, look, they know the effect it is causing on the environment, and that they want to do this properly. And so we agreed, as part of the resolutions, that the government of the respective states should please establish refinery parks where these persons can be engaged so that they can legally refine and the product taken up by the system, and when it's taken up, government will be paid, and we will not lose crude, we will not lose the refined product, and we will not keep paying subsidy. And we submitted the report, but I want to say there is something that they used to call in a sector inter-agency rivalry, and a group of persons trying to protect their own. Now, this has been part of the challenge, but I think the whole thing is becoming more evident now that we cannot keep running away from it. First, the federal government has done what it ought to do by this engagement. It is for the government of the respective states to take action on their own part. His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, has taken action. The governors of other states should take action. I latch on what the Civil Defense Acting Deputy Controller General has stated, that where these boys are, you cannot reach them. And he said that he doesn't know how they carry some of this sophisticated equipment to that place. They are from there. They were born there. They grew up from there. And so that is how they have been surviving. And that is how the country and the world should sympathize with them, how they have been surviving. How they survive to have fish, to live without fish, how they survive to live without so much attention, without infrastructure, without education, without schools in those areas. And I restate this because when I visited Ebelema, I came out with tears. So this is how the people have been living. So with that, they are able to do this. And there is something I've always said, and I want to repeat here with respect, that these persons are not spirit, one. Two, these persons were trained by the government of this country. They are not ordinary persons. They are sophisticated persons who were trained by the Petroleum Technology Development Fund scholarship. They were trained by the amnesty program when we granted amnesty, and then we say, look, come out of the creeks, don't shoot, and don't destroy pipelines. We send them abroad to study different components of petroleum engineering, petroleum technology. Now, these are the persons who have come back without being engaged by the government. They have engaged themselves. And the product that they produce, with respect, sir, and with apology, this, in my opinion, and what I have, because I've had deepest engagement with these persons at informal level, at the most internal level, and I've made this fact available to the government. And when I did this, I invited the Inspector General of Police. He sent a Commissioner of Police to the team. I invited I informed the Director General of the SSS, and he sent, I think, an Assistant Director an officer to the team. So we've been, the security agencies and all the people, then the defense headquarters sent somebody to the team. So in all this, we are working. But I want to say that, like I have lately said, the Ministry of Environment, the Honorable Minister of State Environment, Sharon Ikazu Esquire, has been very, very cooperative, and we've been working together on this matter. Finally, on the disposal of this product, which the Civil Defense Deputy Commander General said that he has asked the NNPC or the other system to take it up, and they said they don't know where they come from. These are products which are well defined, which are well refined, I beg your pardon. And it is taken from where they are in small vessels and supplied to large vessels which are packed at the high seas, and then when those vessels are filled, they come up to the shore of Nigeria and they are offloaded and taken as if it is imported refined products for which we pay subsidy. And for the avoidance of doubt, these people have gone so sophisticated. They have gone so sophisticated. They have all the chemicals that the refineries have. These chemicals are produced by combine of products and instruments, and they are produced. These are the people who produce even what the refineries are using for the refined petroleum, diesel, and petrol. And they are selling it effectively. When these products come in, there is a question, there is a way they have it. If they have a quantum of 1 truck, of 2 trucks of the locally refined product, they mix it with 1 truck of the imported or petroleum. That is those who don't want to go through the process of fully refining to their optimum capacity. They mix it 30, 70, and they sell it to all the filling stations. So this is not, they are not spirits. We've engaged with them. It is for the government to take advantage of this situation. It is exploding and expanding, and it is getting worse. And finally, sir, again, with respect, the governments of the respective countries in the region are now benefiting from it, because these persons, through the route in the Akwa Ibom flank, through the other route in the Gulf of Guinea, they are sending this product from their creek stations down and outside the country. So it is a big ring, and they're not even minding the government of this country, because we've said, engage them. And if you don't engage them, they have engaged themselves.
Senator Ita, we have to appreciate your candor, because, our objective is to fix things. And this is a major problem, as one of the guests said, is genocide in slow motion. But arising from the comment you have made, Kirian, I think there are public policy implications. One is that we are seeing some of the consequences of not tidying up the ends of the amnesty program. Okay, you get the militants out of the creeks, you train them, and thereafter they come back. What do you do with them? Now, earlier when we were reviewing the newspapers, we were talking about repentant bandits or repentant terrorists. El-Rufai says, look, there are no repentant bandits or terrorists. Let them go to heaven, and then they will repent there. Zulum, the governor of Borno, says, fine, you can get some of them. But if these persons are repentant and truly repentant, how do you engage them? And if they don't get engaged, as Senator Ita Enang has said, we then turn around and engage the state with the kind of devastating consequences that we see unfolding in Rivers. So, Senator Ita Enang, thank you very much for that. We'll still, of course, interrogate some further aspects. But sorry, Prof, I'm going to come back to you. But while we are, let's deal with the security issues first. It looks like this is a huge industry, and it's an illegal industry, but it is vast. The value chain, again, illegal value chain, has many players, and it would appear that state resources, that's to say personnel and institutions, are allegedly also being used to prop up this devastating industry that is operating right under our nose. When you say there is some difficulty, let me draw attention to this. You might say that it's different. Arepo area, that's in the boundary between Lagos and Ogun, suffered for many years from the activities of refined products thieves, who were always rupturing the pipelines and cutting away the products. There's a journalist estate around that location. And from time to time, the security operatives tried to engage them on foot, but it never worked. But I do recall, and we discussed it on Good Morning Nigeria some years ago, the Nigerian Air Force had to deploy its Alpha jets. And after those crude oil thieves, those refined products thieves were strafed to death, I doubt if Arepo has come back again to what it used to be in terms of, having pipeline vandals, storming the area and operating freely. What is happening? We hear about crude oil thieves, crude oil theft on the high seas, and now we are having this, again, alleged collusion of some security officers in this business.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me react to the issue raised by the CSO person. The area he saw, the video he saw, viral video he saw with civil defense officers and the local government chairman of one of the local government in River State, that is our exhibit yard. The chairman of the local government came into the exhibit yard with some people. They are not uniform. In fact, you can even see that one of them said that they should disarm a civil defense officer. It's our exhibit yard. And those exhibits kept there are marine-based exhibits. We have boats, we have ships, and these exhibits are handed over to us by other components of the security, Nigerian Navy and Operation Delta Save. That particular area, Navy, I want to recall that 2016, Navy, along with us, we raided that area because it used to be a center of bunkering activities. We raided that area, drove away all the suspects, arrested some of them, destroyed their products. Then Navy now said, okay, since some of these products are here, we took over the place from Navy. The documents are there to show that. We took that place over, and that has been our exhibit yard for marine-based exhibits. And this exhibit, the cases are in court. So nobody can just turn around you to say that we are involved in bunkering activity. How can you use the exhibit yard to be a bunkering center? Just like you said, sir, in the Niger Delta area, we have SOG, that is the air wing of the Operation Delta Save. We have that, and what you are saying, they are working. And in most cases, they've been trying their best to arrest the situation. I think what we need to do more is to reinforce the activities of the air wing, air part of the operation, to ensure that they can also be combat issue of illegal refinery effectively in the area. For that, we have the SOG, that is the air wing of the aspect of a Navy, Air Force, to curb this activity in the area. And again, the activities of the Operation Delta Save is also ongoing, and we are, with what is happening, a lot of restructuring is going on, and also restructuring based on what is happening and the situation that the suit issue are very alarming. And we are trying all we could, the security aspect, to see that we step up our game to ensure that these things are nipped in the bud.
All right, gentlemen and lady, from all indications, and especially from the submissions of Senator Etan Enang, it's very obvious that this is a big-time business, and that those involved are not just quacks or artisans. These are professionals who understand the chemistry of oil refining, and they are going unabated based on the fact that some communities are also in support. We recall the kidnap that took place in Bayelsa State, where some individuals came to a community bought some cows and drinks and all of that to say, look, we're about to set up a illegal refinery in your forest. They made it official, and when one of the commissioner for industrial, commerce, sued against it, he got kidnapped and all of that. So this is a big time business. Only, will I say, God can help us in this matter. Let's go to the...
God has given us the wisdom to tackle problems, man-made problems.
Professor Oni-Wabara, I think the most important aspect of this conversation is that it has to do with health. In this situation, if this situation actually persists in that part of the country, how long can people reside in that area? And what can be done by residents to protect themselves from this, we could say, unseen enemy?
Okay, you see, we have what we call in toxicology or chemistry, route of exposure. We have acute exposure and chronic exposure. What we are experiencing now is combination of both. And the acute one is that people have been exposed to this soot and are having immediate reaction. But the chronic exposure, it takes a while before people start to develop health challenges. Let me just buttress what Senator Itenge said and my colleague in Port Harcourt. This will surprise you that young men between the ages of 18 and 40 in this country, about 32% of them, 32% have low sperm count due to exposure to environmental pollutants, what we are talking about this morning. When you go to the Niger Delta, the number is frightening. The percentage is about 38 to 42% of young men between the ages of 18 and 40 that have low sperm count.
Please take that again for the benefit of our viewers.
Yes. Nationwide, people between the ages of 18 and 40 have about 30 to 32% low sperm count. These are young men that cannot get a woman pregnant if they get married. Then the number in the Niger Delta is about 40 to 43%. Young men between the ages of 18 and 40 that cannot have low sperm count, that cannot get a woman pregnant. Now, this is frightening. And when people get married, they start accusing someone in the village that have made them not to have children. Now, and I tell people this. In the area of cancer, I'm a cancer researcher. The rate of prostate cancer in the Niger Delta area has gone up, as my colleague in Port Harcourt said, because of human exposure to soot. This is getting to the bloodstream. They interact and what we call adduct in human system, thereby causing proliferation of the prostate cell. So when this happens, you see a high number of men now coming up with prostate cancer. Even the age where people experience this prostate cancer globally, probably by the time they're about 60, 65. But in the case of Nigeria, in the Niger Delta, we are seeing people as young as 50 coming down with prostate cancer. So this is a situation where if nothing is done immediately, the health impact, the long-term health effect is going to be very devastating. From respiratory problems, to cancer, to hypertension, to cardiovascular issues, the health impacts are very, very enormous. And something has to be done.
But Professor Wagbara, thank you very much for the points you have raised. I also would like you to speak to another aspect. The Niger Delta was already notorious for acid rain arising from crude oil production activities. That is to say, gas flaring and so on and so forth. Less is being said about acid rain these days, even though it is still there. And now we are having this soot pollution arising from illegal refining operations. Now, we're talking about the impact already on the human being. On the environment, the plants and crops that are in the Niger Delta or in the areas where these illegal refineries are operating, what is the likely impact? More importantly, the water sources and then the animals, because they say that in the food chain, what do you take? Because man is at the top of the food chain. We studied this in elementary, it was elementary science or something, before biology. Man is at the top. That what you would take ultimately is a function of what all others before you would take, which is why people are concerned about plastic pollution in the oceans. Because if the fish ingest plastics, you're ultimately going to eat it as a human being. So what do we know about the impact on flora and fauna, and more importantly, water sources in the Niger Delta?
Now, let me take us first from the vegetation. You mentioned of acid rain. How does acid rain occur? We have what we call the primary pollutants that gets into the atmosphere. This soot we are talking about. You have carbon monoxide, you have NOx. So when they go into the atmosphere, they interact with moisture, and when rain falls, that's what is acid rain, and it's affecting the aquatic system. We are noticing high acidic concentration of aquatic environment in the Niger Delta, where the pH of water is less than 5.0. And when that happens, all the aquatic life are affected because naturally their body is not designed to tolerate such low acidic concentration. We are seeing vegetation changing color from green to yellow. We call them bioaccumulation and biomagnification. With time, when these things get into the aquatic system, get into the fauna, it will start to be manifest. When people consume, you just mentioned at the food chain, when people consume fish or vegetables that have been polluted, with time, it will start to affect the human system. That's why you see women having children with deformities based on exposure to mercury coming from this illegal product. So the problem, the health effect, both in human health and in environment, is enormous. Something has to be done, and it has to be done now.
All right, Dr. Omosivi Madika, in your opening response, you mentioned a good deal of health implications associated with the soot exposure. Let us know if there are some remedials. What can residents of River State do? Because the soot is not going soon, from all indications. What can people do to protect themselves? What are the possibilities of ensuring that one, to some extent, lives a good life in River State with this soot situation that is being experienced there at the moment?
Okay, thank you very much. It's a very challenging question and a bit tough to answer because of the pervasive nature of air pollution, particulate matter, especially soot particles. My colleagues are on this call with us have all said, especially those of us who live or have an experience with River State. You wake up in the morning, it's on the floor, it's under your legs, it's on your hands. Irrespective of how many times you wash your hands a day, you will wash black substances off your hands. If you wake up in the morning and you try to clean your nose, it's black. You cough, your sputum has black particles in it. And irrespective of where you live in Port Harcourt, there is some level of impact on your house and on you. What can people do? We can try the best we can to clean our homes, close our windows. So now you're not talking about, if you said close windows, will people not breathe air? Well, these are some of the things we can say. Close your windows as much as possible. So we're not talking about people who have the economic capacity to always use their air conditioning. But even the air conditioning just helps to circulate the thing around the house. So the only thing that we've been able to think about and come up with that has shown any level of promise, two major things. One is mask wearing. So mask wearing that we've talked about for COVID-19 and prevention and protection, non-pharmaceutical intervention, is also useful because a lot of the respirable particles, the mask, especially if it is a medical grade mask, what we call a medical mask or a surgical mask, the mask will protect your nostrils and you will not breathe it through your nose or even through your mouth. But you can't really be in mask 24 hours. The other night, I told my family members, we're going to start sleeping with mask on throughout the night. It's ridiculous. It can't happen. We tried it. It didn't work. Sometime in the night, you take that thing off and you want to breathe air. You wake up in the morning and you find out that your throat is scratchy and so on and so forth. There are some products that have been, I know about, that have been brought into the state that talk about nose filters, where you put in, it's a small plastic and has a filter in it, and you put it in your nose. It's comfortable to use, and but is it available? Is it what everybody can get and afford? We can talk about washing your hands very frequently and taking regular baths so that you keep washing this thing off your body. But all these things can only go so far. It can only help so much. The most important prevention is at source. It's elimination at source. So I agree with all my colleagues that it is important for us to come up with ways to eliminate at source. Once the thing is being, brought into the air, things that are traveling, diseases, particles that travel in air are one of the most difficult to manage. Part of the reasons why we're having challenges with COVID. Very, very difficult to manage because you will breathe in air, whether you like it or not. We need it to survive. So then the other thing that can be done is that people who are most vulnerable, extremes of age, very young, very old, who are likely to be most impacted, especially by chronic respiratory illnesses and diseases, they probably will need more frequent medical checkups so that if there's anything that is going wrong, it can be picked up early and treatment can commence. Then people who are engaged in other lifestyle behaviors that even make their respiratory tract more at risk, like smoking. This is the best time to quit that kind of thing, because you are already getting pollution into your body from the atmosphere, and then you are adding cigarette smoke pollution to it. More regular medical checkups, especially screening tests for prostate, cervical, breast cancer as it's applicable to individuals, to see how possible it is to pick up these things earlier. And then, of course, sad as it is, if you can afford to live outside Rivers State, please, you can. I mean, if your health is being impacted by staying in the state, you probably have to be like some of those people who can afford to leave the state and maybe come for a short while, do business and run away. But there are some of us that we don't have anywhere to go. I'm sure my brother in the CSO, we don't have anywhere to go. This is our state. I mean, and we're here. So we're really crying out for interventions that go above what individuals can do, because individuals can only do so much.
Dr. Maduka, thank you very much. Let's, we have a second topic, but I want to ask Senator Ita Ena, who is the SSA to the President of the Nigeria Delta Affairs. Is there available a strategic approach to dealing comprehensively with this problem? And if there is, does it incorporate strategic communication, strategic engagement with the communities and their persons for them to recognize the hazards that they are enduring now, and what future generations, assuming they are able to procreate that future generation, or those future generations, will also have to endure?
Well, on the part of the federal government, this is why the federal government engaged on the Ogoni cleanup, the hydrocarbon remediation project, and the Ministry of Environment and the National Assembly recognized this. This is why it had to set up the National Oil Spill Response and Detection Agency. Part of it, not just, even if it is an involuntary spill or voluntarily caused spill, it is still addressed, dealt with. But the communities recognize this. And let me say that it is not only the illegal refineries that are causing the soot. It is gas flare. It started with gas flare. And what the government did at that time, and I think we in the National Assembly sanctioned it then, was that if you have to flare, you pay penalty. And this penalty goes to the government, it is shared to the states, and the people still suffer. But the government takes the penalty. So it is not the communities. But now let me say that this process of getting refining oil has improved. It is the smaller boys, the starters, that are now using the pole fire. The way they do the pole fire is that you set up the drums, then you put a part of the crude or a little minimally refined crude that is enough to just put fire, make the things spark, pole fire, and then it circulates through the entire on the bottom of the drums, and then hits it, and you keep putting the fire. But the thing has gotten more sophisticated now. The bigger boys, the refined boys, the well-educated boys are now using generators. So we are soon going to be able to have elimination of the soot coming from the illegal refineries, which they use the pole fire. The other element is that it's affecting the economy, because one, the security agencies use the smoke that comes out to know where the people are standing to refine, and then they go after it if they want to go after it. But now, where the people are, in the deepest part of their resources, is they now use generators. They simply decouple the generators, take them in parts to their location. They don't even need to couple them back to have the soundproof element. They use that coil, put it on straight, and they have 50 kVA, 40 kVA, 20 kVA, depending on the number of drums that you have that it can hit and produce.
All right.
So it's so bad. It's so bad. So it's kind of question, is for the government, is for all of us to put our hands and say it is enough. Thank you.
What I really, admire from your explanation is actually the fact that you understand the mechanics of this.
I have engaged with them in the deepest grip.
Exactly, you understand the mechanics of it. Well, thank you. Thank you indeed for coming here. Senator Ita Enang, SSA to the President of Nigeria Data Affairs. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Professor Onyiwabara, Professor of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry at Nile University. It's also a pleasure having you this morning as our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Mohammed Lawal Haruna, Acting Deputy Commandant General Operation, NSCDC, National Headquarters Abuja. We also appreciate your contribution.
Thank you.
We didn't have much from you, Kentebe, but we're going to do that next time around. From Port Harcourt Studio, Kentebe Biarado, Program Manager, Environmental Rights Action, Friends of the Earth, Nigeria. Thank you for reaching us all the way from Port Harcourt. And also Dr. Omosivi Maduka, Senior Lecturer, Department of Public Health, University of Port Harcourt. We also appreciate your comments on the program this morning. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll be dealing with the Progressive Youth Festival as our second topic. Stay with us.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, on to our second topic, which has to do with the Progressive Youth Festival taking place on Saturday. That's a couple of days from now in Ibadan. And we have with us in the studios Rinshola Abiola, who is a member of the APC Southwest Youth Lobby Committee, to tell us some more about the Progressive Youth Festival. Rinshola, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
What is this festival about?
Well, essentially, it is young people within the APC saying that we're taking charge of our collective future politically, and we're calling on young people both within the party and outside of the party. Let's talk about what needs to be discussed. Going into 2023, young people need to play a more active role, and we're working to enhance youth mainstreaming in leadership. And this is coming on the heels of other developments that we've had since we held the Progressive Youth Conference in Abuja in June of 2021 under the leadership of the APC National Youth Leader. So it's really just young people within the party organizing to ensure that young people are better represented in decision-making structures, both within the party system and in government.
Well, you are a lobby group, from the standpoint of your name. I mean, when you say youth want to participate in politics, what are your strategies in respect to, first of all, funding, and ensure that the youth are not engaged in thuggery activities, which is, of course, is synonymous with Nigerian political atmosphere?
Okay. So essentially, as I mentioned earlier, we're taking charge of our future politically. And we understand that funding is a major stumbling block for a lot of young people who are aspiring to elective office especially. All our activities so far have been entirely self-funded. It's been young people within the party contributing resources to make things happen. And we're also working to raise funds for young aspirants who want to run for elective office, because we understand that funding is very key if we're going to close the gap between the levels of representation of the older generation and young people like me who are also at home watching. And when it comes to thuggery, it is a factor of our politics, and we are saying that young people have the capacity to be a lot more, to do a lot more, and that's what we are working towards. So, and then of course, it's not really up to young people alone to put an end to that. We have electoral laws. We have laws that actually prohibit all these things. So the onus also lies on, on security agencies, on government to prosecute those who engage in thuggery at the polls. So it's not just up to us, but of course, we are passing that message, and we are hoping that we can have a very sharp departure from what's that opinion of young people in politics.
And what is your scope of operation in terms of membership? Are you just you are doing this in the southwest of Nigeria? Do you have membership across 30 states of Nigeria?
Okay, yeah. So following the National Youth Conference that we held, the Progressive Youth Conference, lobby committees were formed at regional levels. So there will also be other programs coming up in other parts of the country. There's a rally also scheduled to hold in northern Nigeria really soon, but we're just starting because, well, the Southwest Youth Lobby Group has hit the ground running. Last week we also had a conference with young aspirants, young stakeholders in government and politics within the party, and our counterparts in the business world towards forging a relationship that will ensure that more young people emerge in leadership positions. And we're also looking at not just the elections generally, we're also looking at the leadership of the party, especially with the convention set to hold towards the end of this month. So it's young people wanting to take their rightful place in the scheme of things, in decision-making structures, both within the APC as a political party and in Nigeria through elective office. And then, of course, we're also negotiating for better representation through appointive positions also.
What are the activities lined up for the festival?
Okay, so our theme is to energize, to empower, and then to entertain, because we understand that entertainment holds a special place in the hearts of young people. So we're working with musicians. We're going to have an array of musicians who, from Fuji, from pop culture, different kinds of musicians that will appeal to a youth audience, because now it's not just about young people within the APC. We're also looking at young people who are not members of the party. You have to have your PVC to be able to get into the event. And then there's a raffle draw, a 10 million naira raffle draw, and we'll have over 2,000 beneficiaries, winning things ranging from credit, others capital for their businesses. So we're going to have beneficiaries for the raffle draw. And then, of course, there's going to be a trade fair, because we're going to have we have an estimate of 100,000 young people who will be participating at the festival on Saturday. So there's also opportunities for young entrepreneurs to sell their products at the venue. That's a very large market. So there's a trade fair that's going to be going on. And, of course, we'll be sharing other details for how young people can benefit from government programs like, the Bank of Industry funding opportunities for young people in the country.
What has been the experience with young persons who have tried to get their PVCs during the current voter registration exercise, even though it is continuous?
Yes. Well, I would say that INEC has done well with giving young people the option of registering online. But then we also have to encourage our people, because the issue of uncollected PVCs has been a serious one since we started this whole voter registration process. So we also have to encourage our people after registration to do the needful, but actually going to the office and actually picking up their PVCs once their PVCs are ready. But we found that most of those who have registered since the CVR commenced have been young people, and that is in keeping with the established trend. As at 2019 also, young people had about 51% of the voter register. So that's in keeping in that with that trend. But you know, beyond just registering, it's also important that young people actually show up on election day to cast their votes. Beyond just registering to vote, we also have to make it to the ballot on the day of the elections. And I think that's where a lot of the challenge lies. A lot of young people get the PVCs, not necessarily because they plan to vote, but because they need an ID card. So we need to actually, you know, pass that message that beyond just having it as an ID card, you also need to fulfill your civic responsibilities, because it's not enough to complain about the quality of representation. It's not enough to complain about, you know, the kind of things that our leaders do that we're not very satisfied with. We need to participate in the process. And we may not all be politicians, but we can all be active citizens. And it starts by voting on election day. Now,
looking at the lineup of activities for the event, we just hope that it's not going to be a jamboree where you lined up some musicians and what have you, so that you don't deviate from the original plan of course, engaging the youth positively with respect to being part of the political milieu in the country. So, what else do you have in that package that will educate the youth on the direction to take with respect to being part of politics?
Okay, so we have a number of young progressives who will be speaking at the event. We have many of us who are aspirants who will also be showcased at the event, because if we're talking to young people and saying come join politics, they need to understand why, like you rightly noted. So the music is supposed to attract them and then hold their attention while we speak to them about the importance of showing up on election day, while we also showcase those amongst us who are running for office. It's not a rally in the sense that we're not going there to say come and vote for APC. We're going there to say, look, as young people, we need to take charge. As young people, we need to be more involved. As young people, we need to actively participate in the process. So it is a festival for young people, by young people, towards ensuring that young people are better represented in decision-making structures.
All right, Rinshola Abiola, we'd like to appreciate you for being our guest. You're a member of the APC Southwest Youth Lobby Committee, and we wish you the very best in the Progressive Youth Festival taking place in Ibadan. This is interesting, because on the one hand you have youth, who are cynical about virtually everything, and then you're seeking to, of course, get them to be interested in the affairs of the country and how they get represented and how they get governed. Yes. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria. Let's go over now to our sports desk.
Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you for being part of our show this morning. Please join us again tomorrow when we return with a fresh episode of the program. I am Kirin Umaya.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. Do have a nice day.